I am serving as a senior pastor of Agape. Years ago, my ex-husband and I founded a ministry that grew into a mega church. You know, we had the picture of being the perfect family, you know, 3 beautiful children, you know, America's dream family, you know, an incredible congregation. And literally overnight, our life fell apart.
The first question is, Pastor Renee, you have broken a 7-year silence.
Yes.
Why did you decide to write this book?
Well, you know, I decided to write this book more so because I'm a person of integrity, and it's very difficult for me to be hypocritical. And I found that God was sending people into my life, and it was important for me to be able to support them in walking them through their healing process.
Amen.
And in order to do that, I had to get to a place of truth within myself. At the same time, I had things that were happening on the city level where the government was calling me in to deal with certain things. And I found that I was silent when it came to certain issues that the community wanted me to speak out on. And so I had to go to a place of resolve within myself and say, you know what? I have to deal with this. I can't help other people get free if I'm myself am not free. And so I had to do the work that was necessary to get myself to that place of healing and restoration so that I'd be able to stand up as an authentic voice and be able to really help people get out of their bondages. And it really doesn't matter what kind of bondage they're in. My heart is given to really getting people to a place of healness and wholeness and completeness in themselves, in the Lord. And I have to tell the story of the fact that I had a contract with a publisher with an advance, which is not very typical in this day and age of publishing. It's hard to get an advance on a book deal and on another book title. And it was taken away. It was snatched. The publisher just out of the blue said, hey, I'm not going to do the book deal with you. And that caused me to go to a place where I had to get back in my prayer closet. And I had to get on my face and say, okay, Lord, now hold up. Now, wait a minute. I need that book deal. I am a single mama. I have been through crisis. My finances have been wiped out. I don't have no child support. I don't have no alimony.
Break it down.
And so I need to know why that book deal got pulled. And the Lord told me, he said, because that's not the book I told you to write. Now, I need you to obey me. And when I did that, I did not realize that it was the final piece to my healing and my wholeness and to my freedom. So I bless God that I was able to break the silence and find my voice and be healed. Now I'm passionate about getting others to their place of healing, no matter what they go through.
That's beautiful. I know that a lot of times as ministers, as pastors, we always say, baby, you need to pray. But was prayer enough for you, Dr. Renee?
It's prayer and practical application of the word. And you're right, you know, we have to be responsible because oftentimes what people need is not just prayer. Prayer works, don't get me wrong.
Amen.
But they also need intervention. They need someone that can actually step in and give them practical guidance on what they need to do. And that's so key. I heard a lot of people tell me, baby, just pray. It's going to be okay. And honestly, even as a minister of the gospel,
Yes, ma'am.
I was praying and I was trusting God. I was standing on his word, but I needed some help.
Amen.
I needed some help.
One part of the book where you talk about, it was kind of like a breaking point where you would talk to yourself and say your plan of escape was you get the money. You just had a plan, but you never implemented it, doctor.
No, I never implemented that plan. And again, that goes back to the fact that you look at the devastating results of what you may choose to do, but you don't look realistically of what the devastation is going to be if you don't. And so sometimes I did weigh the options, and I did. I had a plan in my mind, but it was the fear. Most people that are in abusive situations are very fearful. They've been intimidated in some capacity, and they're made to feel as though they can't make it without the person. And I had bought into that at some point where I almost felt like I could not make it without him. And even though I knew I needed to make the phone call to get him some help. And so that escape plan was very real, but as readers will find out,
Yes.
part of the reason I didn't do it because I started thinking, who's going to believe me?
Yeah.
You know, where am I really going to go? You know, what am I going to do? You know, at that particular time in our ministry, being a mega church, people knew my face. They knew who I was. And to be on, quote unquote, the run, or to go into a woman's shelter, just didn't seem like a viable alternative. You know, I could have always gone home. I'm an Arkansas girl, and there's no place like home. And my mama's 90 years old today, and she says, baby, you can come home. But the fact remained is that I had children that were going to be impacted by this, and responsibilities. And so when you go through that thought process of playing all of that out, you feel helpless to a certain degree.
I want to know, personally, I want you to share with us the power of manipulation and control. I just want to stay on that for a second. What was one thing that you can share with us that you felt that you overlooked purposely? And, you know, because I know it's something.
You know, I overlooked and tolerated a lot. I think it's better to say that I tolerated a lot.
Okay.
When you're in a manipulative environment, to avoid that manipulation stripping you of your identity, you tolerate a lot. You put up with a lot. In order for that not to affect other people, you tolerate a lot. You learn again how to cope with surviving, thinking to yourself, oh, I can handle this. I'll deal with that later. Let me just get through this particular situation that I'm in, and I'll be able to handle that later. But the thing of it is, I can't think of anything particularly that comes to mind. Maybe, you know, as we go throughout the interview, I can come up with something. But I think the thing of it is that you have to understand that manipulative people are always going to work things to their favor, to their betterment. And so you simply learn how to acquiesce to their demands and their desires. And it's really unhealthy. You give way to what you know to be right. Amen. I think that's where the issue lies. Is that you know that you shouldn't, but you still do, because that manipulator is so dominant in your life.
When you said that you had to break through the silence, and when I read in your book, you talk about different types of silences. So that part before the breakthrough, the suffering in silence, how do you define that?
Well, you know, that's the part of the silence that is detrimental to you. Okay. You know, we call it secrets. People have secrets. They hold on to those secrets. And in that silence, they suffer unnecessarily. They go through things unnecessarily. That silence can literally eat away at your life. It can strip you of who you are, deplete you of your energy. And so it works against you being able to live, and actually brings death to your life. You know, we talk about, you know, how it is that oftentimes people enter a place of death where it's not a physical death. It can be an emotional death, a mental death, you know, a self-esteem death where you just don't believe in yourself. And so when we have these secrets that we hold on to, it depletes us of really what it is that we should be achieving and doing. And so we've got to make certain that we don't allow ourselves to get caught in those cycles. But unfortunately, the reality of life is that many people live in that place of suffering. They don't want to tell the secrets. You know, they're embarrassed. It's one of the prevailing issues right now in our nation. It has become such an epidemic, if you will, to the point that even the mayor of Dallas is calling for an anti-violence rally coming up in the next few months to gather the men. Men are not the only one abusing, okay? But calling forth the men, those that victimize, to be able to say, this needs to stop. You know, you look at the news, you open the newspaper every single day, you see horrific accounts of people that have been in the domestic violence situations, and it's gone too far. And the mistake that most make, like I did, is because of this image that we buy into. I never reported it. You know, I never called the police. And so because of that, and your fear, the embarrassment, the shame that comes along with that is so weighty. People don't really realize, you know, that it's that weighty, because a lot of times you think you can change it. You think you can fix it. When in reality, you can't change anyone.